Well, good morning. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes for a minute if you're comfortable. Take a breath, relax a little bit, and think about something that you desire. Is it more love, more friends, better health, something around your career, more financial flow? Or is it something more basic, like food or water or rest? Open your eyes. Desires are the creative urge expressing through us. And it's tapping on the doorway of our consciousness, encouraging us to grow, to expand, to become more aware. It usually comes with the belief that whatever the feeling is that we're going to have, that we believe we're going to have once we have this desire, that's going to be different than what we have right now. It's going to be better than what we have right now. The desire that you just thought of, how will you feel once you possess that, once you have that? If it's something physical, or if it's love or peace or something else, how will you feel once you have that experience in your life? Will you feel happy? Will you feel at peace? Will you feel secure? Will you feel satisfied? How will you feel when that desire is yours? Anything we desire, by definition, means it's not in our life, right? It's something new or something more that we want to experience. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living, the author of The Science of Mind, he says that this is the divine urge, that it is spirit which operates through law and produces energy, and energy must find an outlet. And in the Science of Mind, we teach spiritual practices that help us to find the outlet for this energy, that help us bring it into our lives, and that helps us to live a better life through achieving these desires and dreams. My talk today is rebuilding your life. And that doesn't mean your life is broken or anything like that. It's just, again, using the creative process to rebuild those areas, to shore up the foundation, to add a new addition perhaps, maybe a remodel. But it's the rebuilding process of growth, because that's what we do, isn't it? Ernest says that we have that upward expanding spiral of life, that we're always expanding upward and more open. So rebuilding our lives is about the creative process and to fulfill this desire that we have. And we, as I say, we've talked a lot about that this month. We've talked a lot about the creative process. Almost every week we've probably touched on it. And have you noticed? Because we've been doing the basic ideas of Science of Mind, and part of that is how we can use the creative process in our life. Because that's one of the great tools that we have as human beings. The question is, are we using it consciously or not? And that's what this teaching is about, is to show us how to use it more consciously in our lives. Because most don't. Not in this room. I know y'all all know what you're doing. But out there, a lot of people don't use it consciously. And they wonder why their lives are not working, why the same old things keep happening to them. As I have studied this month and listened to Reverend Lee's talks and prepared for my own, I've realized it really comes down to one thing. And that one thing is us. It comes down to us. Because we are each the captain of the ships of our lives. No one else can do it for us, right? The Science of Mind teaches that we are responsible for ourselves. That runs a lot of people away. So thank you for being here. Where most people get into trouble is with our freedom to choose. It can be a blessing and a curse, can't it? Because choice starts in our minds, doesn't it? It starts in our minds. And learning to control our thoughts and our emotions is a key in this whole process. Figuring out which ones to focus on, which ones to ignore, quite frankly, and how to use them to take self-control of our minds. Control of our emotions, our thoughts, and our actions. And our microphone. Control of our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions is really a key. Got it? Is really a key to success in changing our lives and rebuilding them. Learning self-control of our thoughts and emotions is the key to success, achieving our goals, our dreams, feeling happier, more peaceful, prosperity, better health, more love. If it's so important, why can it seem to be so difficult to manage? Anybody else ever sit down to meditate and find yourself in next week or last year? It's like, I'm supposed to be right here, present now, focusing on my breath. But why am I thinking about that? That's the control of our thoughts, isn't it? That's the control of our thoughts. A lot of information is out there now in the self-help world around EQ. You heard of EQ? Emotional quotient. They say it's more important than IQ now. And when I've read about it and studied about it, they say that it is really this process of controlling what comes out of our mouths. Have you ever noticed someone that has a feeling and you know about it verbatim, and it might be in anger, and yet you know this person, you know they don't really mean it that way. They're just not aware of what they're sharing, what they're saying. If they would have been able to pause and then express a more refined comment, it might have been constructive instead of destructive, right? That's emotional intelligence that they talk about. And that's what we're talking about, that we teach here. And I believe that gaining control over our thoughts and our emotions and our mouths is there's about 4 things that I've kind of narrowed it down to that we're going to talk about as soon as I get redone here. All right. Thank you, Joe. Yay, Joe. Our sound guy. So the first one is lack of know-how. Not practicing diligently, allowing ourselves to be distracted by the world of effects, and being unwilling to turn away from anything undesirable. Sounds like a lot. Let's talk about them. The first one, know-how. Know-how means investing in study, learning, understanding, learning these practices, principles, tools, processes. That's what know-how is. We've got 20 people in the room this morning, whatever it is. I mean, there's 5 billion, 7 billion people out there. And, not everybody knows about this stuff. So again, thank you for being here. It's know-how, it's learning, it's taking the time to study and to learn what it is that you can use in your life to make your life better, because you can learn these practices and skills. We take classes, we study the law, we learn the tools, we learn about ourselves. We learn about what thoughts serve us, what don't, what beliefs work for us still, what don't, what we should let go of. And we find ways to heal those, transform them, and let them go. We study so that we have a better life. Science of mind is accused of working only on self. Why do we spend so much time on the self? We should be out in the world? And I agree, we should be out in the world, but it starts here. It starts here. We have to heal whatever's going on inside of us so that we don't spread our negativity and stuff on other people. So when we're healed, we're whole, we know our spiritual perfection, we can share that with the world. And it's a ripple effect, isn't it? We see it first in our closest friends and family and so forth and so on. It is a ripple effect. And that's how we change the world. But it starts right here. It starts within each one of us. An example of know-how, think about physicians. Physicians go to school, they take all the classes, they graduate with a medical degree. Do they let them practice? Not yet. They have to go through internship, residency, that kind of stuff, right? Under supervision of someone else before they're turned loose to work in the world. And then after they get licensed, doctors, lawyers, real estate agents, a lot of people, teachers, have to do what's called continuing education. And that's on some scale of time that they have to stay up to date in their industry. Imagine if your physician wasn't staying up to date. Look at all the things that have happened in the last 20 years in the medical world. Anybody remember using paper files? Right? Nobody uses paper files anymore. The medical tests that we used to do, are antiquated. The blood pressure cuffs, the technology in them has changed so dramatically. When I was a candy striper 1,000 years ago, you had to carry around the cuff and the thing and the this. It's just put a little thing on you and they get it now. It's amazing, the technology and the advances. But if they don't keep up with that, they don't continue that education. And the same is true for us. And not so much that the industry of spirituality changes, but that we change. Excuse me. Our awareness, our wisdom changes. It's said that Ernest Holmes was still studying in his last days, that he was still learning in his last days. He didn't quit. Number 2 in our list is practice. If you've been coming here for a while, you know that I am a big fan of daily spiritual practice, because I think it is the avenue through which we meet spirit and build that personal relationship with our source, with the divine, with the infinite, with God, through being still and quiet. Sometimes we treat our spiritual practices like the emergency room. Oh, I've got a problem. I better pray about it. Oh, something happened. I better pray about it. I better do some affirmations. And then when things are going okay, we can fall off the bandwagon, so to speak. And we don't practice as much. And that's when we open the door to trouble. If I miss my spiritual practice, and I have been known to do that, so I'm not perfect. There. If I miss my spiritual practice, traffic turns out to be horrible that day. I'm likely going to be late for work. I'm unprepared for a meeting I totally forgot about. Someone hurts my feelings in the office, and I'm generally just tired and sluggish all day long. It's like I've left my spiritual armor at home. And it feels like something's missing. I don't know if you have had that experience where you miss your spiritual practice and things just don't flow, just don't seem to flow. So dedication to our spiritual practice is nourishment for our soul. It's how we keep our buckets full. Between our study of good stuff and new things and our practices every day, keeping us connected and in alignment, we can stay in the flow of good rather than having to try and figure out how to fix it after something happens. Would you rather fix something that's broken, or would you rather just maintain something that's working? Number 3 is distracted by the world of effects. We've created an amazing world, haven't we? Just absolutely filled with beauty and amazing things. We can travel. We can see new places. We can experience beauty in nature. We've got the internet for entertainment and shopping. And we've got phones to communicate with each other easily, text or email or telephone call. And we've got businesses that demand our attention, provide for our lifestyle, and we've got schedules that keep us on time and at the right place. We've got it going on. We also got a few negative things out there that can snag us sometimes too, don't we? We've got headlines, constant news, challenges with relationships, friends, family, workplace, distressing diagnosis, war, famine, gun violence, water shortages, human trafficking, inflation, and the economy. Let's not even get into politics, okay? And government. Do we let that stuff get us? Or do we appreciate the beauty and the amazing things we've created? What's got your attention today? What are you allowing to snag your attention, to upset you, to rile you up, to take your eye off your focus? We have to have the discipline to turn off the technology for ourselves, right? Because we're the captains of our own ship. So we can't blame others for keeping the news on and exposing us to it, and we hear it if that's not what we want. So we have to turn off that stuff. We have to fill our buckets up, bring our awareness back to our center, to our purpose that we've set for ourselves. Our life. Our life. Number 4 is turn away from anything undesirable. The science of mind teaches us that we don't deny our challenges, our experiences that are challenging or negative. We don't deny them. We acknowledge them. I see you. And I am not going to focus my time, attention, and energy on you. I'm going to focus my time, attention, and energy on the solution to you. On the solution to you. But a lot of times we're going to focus our attention on the problem, on continuing to tell the story, on continuing to try to fix it at this level, rather than letting go of this level and allowing universal wisdom and intelligence to provide the solution. I got a problem, but I don't know what the solution is. How can I focus on the solution? We focus on the clarity to know. I know that every day, if it's a financial thing, I don't know how to fix this financial nightmare that I'm in. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to pray about it, and then I'm going to say, Spirit, I don't know how to fix this, but I know every day I am being prospered more and more by Spirit. I don't know how I'm going to fix this relationship, but I know every day I'm increasing in love that I am giving to the world, that I am receiving. I don't know how I'm going to fix my career problem, but I'm going to give all I've got of my gifts and talents to where I am right now and to what I'm doing right now. And so we focus on that sort of stuff, much more empowering than, oh, woe is me. I can't get out of this hole of money and my relationship's just horrible. And let me tell my girlfriend about it again. Maybe we can drink some wine and talk about it. Wine and wine, right? Wine, I want some cheese with that wine. Yeah, but that's what we do. We commiserate. And that doesn't help us. And don't get me wrong, I'm guilty of this stuff too. I'm right there with you. But it's important that we step out of that and that we step into what we know. We step into the truth. We step into the truth. What would you prefer instead? Well, gosh, I'd prefer a loving relationship and an abundant bank account and great health and a super duper career. All right, let's focus on that. Let's focus on that. One of the examples is if anybody ever snow ski? Oh yeah, okay. Have you ever noticed when you're snow skiing, you're going down the mountain and you look over here, and the next thing you know, you're going over here? You ever notice that? Driving down the road, you see something kind of cool, and you look over, and the next thing you know, you're like, "Whoa, get back in the lane." Yeah, because energy flows where our attention goes, and that's exactly what happens in the realm of spirit. Wherever we're putting our attention, if it's on the negative and the whining, that's what we're gonna get more of. The energy's gonna be there. So pull away the energy from that. Put your energy and your attention in what you really want to expand. Ernest taught something he called race consciousness back in his day. Today, we're more likely to use Jung's term, collective or universal consciousness. Holmes defined it as all suggestion that is recorded in the subjective mind of every person, which creates a tendency to reproduce in our experience. This collective history is the source of disease, war, famine, pestilence, plague, and all forms of human misery. He goes on to say, we will continue to create our experience out of the accumulated and accepted beliefs of humanity and continue to repeat the mistakes of the past unless we consciously take dominion and responsibility over our own thoughts and beliefs and change that tendency. Good news is we have the power to change that tendency, don't we? The bad news is we get criticized for not hanging in the status quo. Consider some ways that we perpetuate this. Weddings, funerals, religious celebrations, judicial systems, laws, educational norms, seasonal beliefs. It's flu season. Why do we have flu season in Arizona? I mean, there's an old wives' tale about if you get cold in the winter, you're going to get a cold. We don't get cold in the winter, right? Why do we even have flu season here? I mean, things like that. That is the universal collective belief that if it's fall and winter, you're going to have flu season. And we can stop that, right? We don't have to believe that. We don't have to buy into that. Right. So that's the idea of this universal consciousness. And Holmes is telling us, unless we consciously take dominion and responsibility, and we've talked about that this month, the dominion that we have over the conditions of our lives, the responsibility we have for creating our own lives. And we have dominion and responsibility over our own thoughts and beliefs so that we're not automatically repeating the same thing over and over and over again. That's how we break the system, break the habit. Cycle. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Cycle. So, if there's a desire that you have that you want to manifest, you've been working on it, it's not manifesting, or you've just hit a plateau in life, we can use these tools and principles to change that, to rebuild from that place, to move forward, to begin again. It works all the same with any of those situations for us. It's a universal principle. Ba-dum-bum. So we build our relationship with infinite intelligence. That's really what we do. We build that relationship with infinite intelligence so that we can always become living from that place and be able to go to spiritual truth and spiritual principle whenever anything happens, a condition or circumstance in our life, so that we are not rebuilding, we're maintaining. We're just maintaining. So if you would like to grow in consciousness by practicing these principles, I invite you to sign up for the Mindful Monday newsletter. It comes out on Monday mornings. It's a recap of today's talk, quotes and practices in more detail. You can sign up in the lobby or online, or you can send us an email and we'll get you added to that list. So your practices for this week, how you can take this home and work with it in your life so that you can apply it in your life. Number one, what's got your attention? Figure out for yourself this week what's got your attention. Pay attention to things that distract you. Pay attention to things that distract you. Notice when you're chasing a squirrel or whatever that saying is. Notice when you're not on purpose, not on your purpose. Things that cause you to be, notice what things are that cause you to be distracted, to not study, to not practice your spiritual practices. And then notice where you're focused on undesired things. What am I thinking about? Am I thinking about, oh, my aching back? No offense, Ron. Or am I thinking about, I am whole, perfect, and complete health? Am I thinking about and worried about my empty bank account? Or am I knowing I'm prospered every day? What are you thinking about? Keep notes on what you discover, because number two, you're going to use those. This is change one thing. Change one thing. Pick one thing that will directly affect you achieving your desire. Whether it's the one you came up with this morning, first thing, the one that you started last January, or something else entirely that you're creating in this time frame. Pick one thing that will directly affect achieving that desire. And then after you have discovered what's happening to distract you from that, in number one, change that one thing. Change that one thing. Add a study. Add a practice. Physically remove the distraction. If you find yourself being distracted by headlines, I personally find that very annoying when I open up the internet to do research and boom, all these headline things pop up. It's like, oh, not good. Because I want to read the headlines and just get those snippets. And then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, that's interesting. I need to read that story. Oh, that's interesting. And there you are, 2 hours later. Yeah. So be aware of what those things are that are distracting you from your purpose and turn them off. Remove them physically if you can. Write out what your intention is then, opposite that distraction, your little affirmation, and say it 100 times. Now that sounds like a lot. Really, Reverend Jill? There's something magic about that, because about halfway through that, something happens. Our consciousness finally goes, okay, I get it. I get it. You want to change this. And there's this shift that starts to happen. And the more you do it, and the more you say it, at first it's like, I am prospered every day. I am prospered every day. I am prospered every day. Well, no, what if I was prospered every day? I am prospered every day. I am prospered every day. Every day I am prospered more and more. I see where I'm prospered more every day. And you keep moving through that until you believe it. And imagine if you did that 100 times every day. Would your subconscious now begin to believe it too? And would we begin to attract into our lives that which we are affirming? Okay. So, rebuilding our lives requires our full commitment and our participation in the process. Sorry, again, nobody can do this for us. You've got teachers and a lot of resources, a lot of YouTube stuff and books, and your practitioners here, and a lot of ways to gain knowledge, but we've got to do our own inner work. No one can do it for us. I wish I could. I wish I could. I can't. We must do our own work. In closing today, I want to remind us what Ernest Holmes said. He said, practically, the whole human race is hypnotized because it thinks what somebody else told it to think. Fortunately, our Centers for Spiritual Living teach us how to think, not what to think. And so it is. And now it's your turn. What questions or comments might you have this morning? Victoria. Oops.
In Science of Mind, we talk about race consciousness. Can you explain that?
Yeah, race consciousness is what Jung called the universal or the collective consciousness. And it's that idea of all of the things that have come before are lodged in our consciousness, mostly at the subconscious level. But it was like I was saying, the flu season, or and we just automatically, everybody thinks there's flu season, and we have to step back against that and say, no, there's not a flu season. I'm not going to experience a flu season, and we sometimes can get ostracized for that. Oh, Pollyanna, right? But we step out of the status quo. Status quo is sort of that collective consciousness that everyone is buying into.
So then what it is actually is human race. Because I know when I first started, I thought they were talking about the different races.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Human race. Okay.
Yeah. The idea of race consciousness carries a negative connotation today, in today's world, which is, I think, why Jung began changing it in his time frame. And even now, it's more universal consciousness, collective consciousness kind of a thing. It's just the consciousness of human nature from evolution, all through the evolutionary process. Uh-huh. And weddings is another example of that. Where'd that start? And why does it continue to perpetuate? The styles have changed, but still the union is continuing in all faith traditions. So it's kind of, it's interesting when you think about things like that and how we've collectively bought in and said, yes, that's the way to do it. Yeah. Who else? Yeah, holidays, traditions, funerals. We're getting away from funerals more so and more so, and more of celebration of life and memorials and things like that. Diane.
And I wanted to thank you because I was feeling that thing that you mentioned earlier about sort of a plateau in my life. And I realized that my focus is everywhere but on my spiritual being. And I'm happy about going to class today. And I was rereading the basic ideas, and I realized that the lethargic feeling and the not focused part of me was my spiritual practice was not. I let a lot of things take my attention away. Purposefully allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
So it was a real wake up. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Life gets busy, doesn't it? So what are we going to prioritize?
Speaking of, I've been on this journey and it's been great. And I got to a plateau to where I was getting away from the practices and figuring out, okay, I know how to do this now. I want to fix this. And with my new career and what I'm doing and things I need to learn. And I just need some help getting back onto the practice.
Yeah. It really takes that spiritual dedication of setting aside that time. And that is a special time for us. It is sacred time. And, pick what that is. If it's first thing in the morning and you got to get up 20 minutes earlier, get up 20 minutes earlier. Go to bed 20 minutes earlier. Have a designated spot where you do your spiritual practices, that when you go there, your mind, body, and soul know, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to pray here. This is my prayer chair. Uh-huh. Anyone else?
Something to share.
Yes, ma'am.
I love what you said about what we do here and how it affects everything else and everybody else. And yesterday I was listening to a talk that told us about a study that was done with these really well practiced monks, these monks who are meditators for a long, long time, elevated kind of people. And they put them in these different big cities, like one monk in each city, and noticed, measured different things in the city, And I don't remember which cities went with which result, but there were things like less pollution, less crime, just things like that. And I just thought it was fascinating. I want to look it up and find the study because it's just amazing how what we do here, even if we don't see it or know it, is changing everything. And then that all reflects back to us. It's amazing.
We are all connected. We are all connected. One more. Anyone else? No? All right. Thank you very much. I so appreciate your sharing. All right. Would you join me in a prayer, please? Oh, as we just breathe in that breath of life, allowing our awareness to become fully present here and now. We recognize that this is the space and the place of the divine, that stillness within us. It is the intelligence of the universe and beyond. It is that which is infinite in its scope and being. It is unconditioned and unconditional love. It is expansion. It is growth. It is joy and peace, love and harmony. It is all that there is. It is God. It is the source. It is that which is created. It is the creator, and it is creation itself. There is no separation. And as a creation of this, I am one in it. I live, move, and have my being in God as it is in, through, and as me, as a unique, individualized expression of it. And as I know this for myself, I know this for each one of us gathered here today, online, and listening later, that we are united in the consciousness of wholeness, of the perfection of life, of joy, of infinite intelligence, that we are immersed in this creative process, and we are blessed to have freedom of choice. We are blessed to have the skills and the practices and the tools that we have here to be able to consciously co-create our world, our experiences, and draw into our lives that ever-expanding growth and expansion of life itself. That we get to live life to its fullest. We get to embrace and embody our desires, that we deserve each and every one of the desires that we have of our heart because they've been placed there by Spirit. It is Spirit in us, as us, and through us, seeking that ever upward expansion of this thing called life. And it happens through each one of us. And so we graciously and joyously accept those desires, knowing that all have with them everything necessary for their perfect and total unfoldment as our lives. And that when we say yes to the universe says yes to us. Knowing that everything is in perfect and right alignment in our world and our life, flowing to and through us with ease and grace. We are so blessed. I know for anyone that has anything on their heart this day, whether it's around their desire, if it's a healing, if it's information, if it is clarity, if it is peace or gratitude, whatever it might be, knowing that as that is lifted into the consciousness of this prayer, that we hold them and say that sacred yes to them for the full and complete manifestation of that desire, of that prayer, of that healing. And so with a grateful heart filled with thanksgiving and joy, I release this prayer into the action and activity of the universal law, knowing that it is done, it is so. And we affirm this together by saying, and so it is.